Are you a coffee drinker? I'm Marcy McDonald with Pacific Northwest Suburban Homesteading, and I had no idea how many ways a person can brew coffee at home. Today, Homestead spouse Scott McDonald will demonstrate 3 alternative methods requiring little special equipment.
Today we're going to be talking about coffee and how to make it. A lot of people have drip coffee makers. Some people have the single serve coffee makers. But what if you don't have either one of those and you just want a good cup of coffee? I'm going to teach you 3 different ways of making coffee with the least amount of equipment you can think of. So what 3 methods are we going to use today? I'm going to show you how to do a long duration cold brew coffee in your refrigerator. I'm going to show you how to do just a good old fashioned pour over using a tea kettle or other hot water source. And then I'm going to take you back to my bygone eras of camping and cowboy coffee, with a mild twist on it because I like it a little bit more filtered than my grandfather did. First things first, let's talk about coffee. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes in coffee. A lot of folks like dark roasts, which are more robust. They've got more flavor of the roast itself. Some folks like lighter roasts. This would be me. I like the lighter city roasts that have a lot more flavor of the bean compared to the roast itself. Go with the kind of coffee you like. Just because I like Guatemalan handcrafted specialty roast coffee doesn't mean that's what you like. This method will work for any of them. You're gonna get more flavor of coffee on all 3 of these methods and you're gonna get off of a standard drip coffee maker. So find the coffee you like and go with it. This will work for all of it. One thing I do want to talk about is the type of grind we're using. All of these methods are going to use the same medium grind coffee. I have a nifty little mill grinder that I keep over on the counter and use on a daily basis, but a bird grinder or a coffee grinder you buy from one of the coffee chip stores will work just fine as well. You can also just go ahead and use ground coffee out of the store. That will work. Won't be quite as flavorful, but all of these methods will work with that as well. The difference between the pre-ground coffee and whole bean coffee is a certain amount of freshness. If you buy it as pre-ground from the factory, you don't know when that coffee was ground. The longer it's in a ground form, the more stale it gets, the less of the nuances of the different types of beans that will be available to your tongue when you taste it. That's why I grind mine daily, but this process will work just fine with coffee out of a can. I like to grind my beans just before I make my coffee. I have this milk coffee grinder, and I've just already set to where I want it. It's a medium grind. I'm just gonna press the button. Specifically, one of these ways is going to require nothing more than a quart jar and a way of filtering your coffee. Cold brew coffee. Cold brew is probably the easiest way of making coffee you're ever going to find. It requires you to have coffee, one of these little coffee filter things, and a jar to do your cold brew in. All we're going to do is we're going to take the amount of coffee that we personally like, put it in the bottom of the jar, fill it with water, stick it in the refrigerator. So let's talk about coffee strength. Everybody has a different level of intensity that they like out of their coffee. I like mine what some people call terrifying. Yeah. The amount of coffee you use in these processes will generate the strength of coffee. You can use anywhere from a 1/4 cup of coffee to a 1/2 cup of coffee or more, depending on how strong you like your coffee. All of these methods are going to revolve around a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup per quart of water. Your choice on how much you put in. The more coffee you put in, the stronger it will be. I will warn you that if you use a 1/2 cup of coffee in any of these, you're going to end up with what my wife lovingly calls road tar.
Scott really does like his coffee strong. Here you can see a standard coffee scoop from our measuring cup set and the scoop that came with our grinder. The measuring cup that says standard coffee scoop is an 1/8 cup measure. Scott uses a half cup. I'm a tea drinker, so I have no idea what most people use. I think most coffee is more transparent than this. A quick look at a couple of name brand ground coffee company websites showed that they suggest 1 tablespoon of ground coffee per 6 fluid ounces of water. A quart is 32 fluid ounces, which is about 5 servings. This will require 5 tablespoons of ground coffee, which is roughly 2.5 standard coffee scoops, or a bit over a quarter cup of ground coffee for 1 quart of cold brew coffee. I just wanted to warn people that they should probably follow the standard scoop size at first and adjust to taste.
I have my freshly ground coffee. I have a half a cup measurement device that I'm just gonna use sparingly. Good enough. So I got roughly a half cup of coffee. Put it in there. A little bit more because I like my coffee really strong. And now I'm just gonna put water in this. Leave just a little bit of headroom on there because the coffee is going to want to expand a little bit as the coffee grounds hydrate. And I want to put a lid on this, and then I'm just going to stick it in the fridge, and I'm going to leave it there for 72 hours. This is a pour over style coffee filter. You can buy this at just about every single grocery store in America. And these are the cone coffee filters that go in it. This is going to feature in all 3 of my methods, just because it's the easiest way of filtering coffee I have found.
In addition to the paper cone filters, some folks opt to use reusable filters. We have 2 styles here. Scott prefers the compostable paper filters because he feels that they filter out more of the fine particles than the other style.
Okay, so it's been 3 days in the fridge now. I'm going to drain off the cold brew coffee. Give it a kind of a gentle oscillation to get all the grounds mixed up into liquid so that when we drain it off, we don't have a lot of cleanup to do later. And then just pour it into the coffee filter. Every time I pour, I give the liquid a little bit of a swirl. Okay, at this point I've got pretty much everything out of this I'm going to get. If I had extra time, I'd just let this drain until it stopped dripping. But I want to drink it. That's what it looks like. You just put a lid back on that and stick it back in the refrigerator, or drink it. Coffee. Method 2 I'm going to show you today is the pour over method. A lot of people have heard about this method. Not a lot of people actually know how to do it. I'm just going to show you real quick. I've got a 1/4 cup scoop of coffee. I'm going to put 2 of those in my coffee filter. And a little bit more because I like coffee. All right, got my coffee filter. I've got a vessel to catch the coffee with. And I've got water. This just came off the boil a second ago. So I'm simply going to pour this onto my coffee. What I want to do is I want to wet all the grounds, but just enough to start seeing a little bit of foam come up on the top. And then I want to let it sit and let it filter through for a minute before I pour any more water on it. This technique is called blooming, and it helps to make the coffee more flavorful or at least that's what they say. I like it, so it works. Once the coffee is drained down and I can start to see the grounds again, I'll just pour a little bit more water onto it and keep going with this process until I have the amount of coffee I want to have, which today is going to be about a quart. Think about that half cup of coffee that I put in the bottom of that. So one thing I do want to talk about is the vessel I'm using to catch the coffee. Today I'm just using the carafe of a French press coffee maker, which is another way we could make coffee. I actually like this better than French press. If you're going to use something else, say a quart jar, which I've been known to use, make sure that it's either tempered glass so it won't break on you, or that you've heated that glass up by pouring hot water into it, letting it sit for a little while to make sure the glass is up to temperature before you start pouring hot liquid into it. Otherwise, it could pop. So this method is faster than the refrigerator method. That method's going to take 72 hours before that coffee is ready to drink. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes total. Does take a little bit of active time though, so it's a little bit longer than the French press or the drip method, but this works great and I love the coffee it produces. Got one more pour to go. And that's about got it. Let the rest of that drain out and you're good to go. Some people drink coffee in these teeny little 1 cup serving things. No, I don't do that. Transfer this over to the sink so that I didn't drain all this on my counter. Yeah. So the last method we're going to make coffee with today is the old-fashioned cowboy way on a modern stove, but it works. Cowboy coffee is very, very simple. It requires a pot, water, and coffee. I have this literal coffee pot. It's part of my camping kit. It's one of the first things I ever brewed coffee in, and I'll be using it again today. But you don't have to have this. You can use just a regular old saucepan. The important part is water and coffee. That's it. So regardless of what vessel you're going to use, you're going to put 1 quart of water in there. And you're going to put it on your stove and you're going to let it start heating up. Once the water gets warm, you're going to go ahead and pour in your coffee and let it come to a boil. So my coffee pot actually will take 2 full quarts of water. I'm the only one in the household that drinks coffee, so all of my recipes have been set to 1 quart to prevent me from drinking an entire batch of coffee in a single sitting. Okay, so the water's starting to steam now. I have my more than a half cup of coffee here that I'm just gonna go ahead and add that to my water. And I'm just gonna give it a little stir with a knife or a spoon or something to make sure the coffee gets thoroughly mixed in with the water. And now I just wait till that comes to a boil. Not quite there, but it's getting there. Just about. There it goes. It's boiling. So now what I want to do is turn the temperature down and just let that continue at a decent boil for 2 minutes. And I'm actually going to start a timer on my watch for 2 minutes. 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. We've had our 2 minutes of boiling time now. So I'm going to take the coffee off the heat at this point. And I have a little bit of cold water here. So if you have no filters at all, this is the way you want to make coffee, because by taking just a little bit of cold water and pouring it in on my boiled camp coffee, that cold water is it's denser than the hot water that's there, so it's going to grab onto the coffee grounds and actually sink to the bottom of the pot. So I'm gonna give it just a minute here to let those grounds settle a little bit. And then I can actually just pour this right off into my coffee mug, and I'll get a pretty dense but relatively filtered coffee that we can use. Now I'm just going to pour this really gently. And there we go. Of all the ways I make coffee, when I break out the coffee pot and do it this way, this is the one that brings back nostalgic memories. It's also one of the smoothest coffees you'll ever have. I have more camp coffee going on here that I'm going to drink in one sitting. And I want to get it a little bit more filtered out for storage. So I've got my little coffee filter, and I've got a quart jar, which I just went over and ran hot water into it, let it set for a minute to make sure that it was actually temperaturized. Now I'm just going to pour my camp coffee through my filter rig here. Then I can take that, then I can just store it in the refrigerator or just drink it, which is more likely what's going to happen later this afternoon. So a little trick that I learned a long time ago with coffee making. Dealing with the grounds is actually kind of challenging sometimes. You don't want these to go down your garbage disposal in any large quantity. So what I like to do is, regardless of what method I'm using, I've swirled my water in the bottom of the pot to catch as many of the grounds as I can. And then I use my coffee filter as a catchment device. And that's, just by doing that, I was able to get quite a lot of the actual grounds out of it. So now we can, that amount's not going to be a problem for the garbage disposal. But if I was to take that whole thing through there, that would be an issue. Now, some of you like cream, some of you like sugar. Whatever you like, go for it. Coffee should be about what you like. And that's the 3 ways I make coffee.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Till next time, be curious, keep an open mind, and never stop learning.